Welcome to WestWorld Chat. We had another episode tonight, the mother of all exiles. I'll just let you guys say what you thought of the episode.
I loved it. I thought it was the best episode since maybe of the series, but like definitely since the end of season 1 for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely was the best episode of the series, and it also shows the maturity that comes with a series in season 3 that's still going strong, in that it's able to really do a lot of things in a short period of time.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to crown it the best episode of the series, but it was really good.
I mean, recency bias, is a big thing.
Yeah,
but I don't know why in my own brain that wasn't an option to me, that Dolores was everybody.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
I was thinking about our favorite hashtag, third ball down.
Yeah.
And how that was the closest that we actually got to that, because my crackpot theory was that server that had all those memory host units were all copies of Dolores, and it was testing which one of them would be the strongest one.
I do remember you saying that.
And then I remember my theory was that third ball down would be another one that escapes later or something like that. We'll have to go back and check it. But I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, when I started thinking about it when she said, you're beautiful and all this from last week, I'm like going, oh. And, we were thinking it's Teddy, it was this, it's that. And it was, I didn't.
I'm so glad it wasn't Teddy.
You said one of you two sent a video that I tried.
I sent it, yeah.
Yeah, and I watched that, and then my brain started going about it. But that wasn't the theory in that video, was it? That wasn't one of them.
No, it was. It was that. I think it was that Charlotte could be Dolores, but not that Charlotte was everybody. I mean, that Dolores was everybody. Yeah. One of the theories was it was Caleb, because he had depression. I mean, whoever did, I forget who. I just happened to see it and I watched it and I said, "Oh, let me share it with you guys." They did a good job of laying out the case for the theories, but it turned out wrong. So
that's actually a hallmark of a. I mean, Jack, you're the expert in this. But, I mean, it's a great resolution is one that can blow like 10 crackpot theories out of the water with one shot, right?
And what was that? I think they were doing that like last year a lot with every episode. Was it this show or some other show where like there'd be a new theory every week, and every week they would answer that particular one they set up the week before? But this one was different.
Yeah, it just like I said, it started out great. I thought with a drunken William he's obviously he's going crazy. And Ed Harris, anytime you have Ed Harris on the screen, it's a plus.
Well,
and go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into it, but it seemed like almost like they tried to. I know they did. I'm pretty sure they haven't, but they tried to wrap up William. Like he's done. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not, but they really made it seem like that. Like, that's it. You're in the loony bin, and
I was afraid after the first 5 minutes where they started showing other characters, because I was really hoping they would do like we talked about in Leftovers, where they took the priest and give him his own episode, right?
Right.
So that's what we're hoping with Ed Harris here, but
this had everybody.
They were able to pull every storyline into this, which was impressive, right?
So I don't have to bring it up later since you already said the L word. I will bring up the Leftovers now.
Yes, please do.
With Emily saying that she's going to stick with him now, like Patty left.
Yep.
Yeah, I stick to you, Kevin. Like I stick to you, William. Well, I'm choosing for you not to stick with me as I leave. All right, I'm going to be here waiting when you get back. And
well, it's got to be a hard thing when you've killed your daughter, and you can't shake it. I mean, obviously, it'd be. I don't think I could shake it. It would be something I couldn't live with myself. But you think William, as cold as he is, he'd have a little better time with it.
I was expecting the worst time, actually.
Really?
I don't know what I was expecting because they show you flashes of this stuff in the previews. You know what I mean? And you think it's going to go other places. But no, I mean, it's kind of like just a drunken mess at home.
Yeah.
You know? And I thought for a second when she started to come down the stairs that, I mean, oh snap, she wasn't actually shot. She's been upstairs. But she came down, she had the dreamscape shots in her, you know.
Yeah, where she starts bleeding and
Yeah.
I mean,
look like Die Hard with all the broken glass, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
I was thinking more about the fact that when we last saw him in season 2, he was all shot up, including his hand, right?
Right.
He was wearing black glove when he came out.
And when you see him in that opening sequence physically, I mean, obviously he's gone for now, but physically he just seemed totally fine. And what one of the last scenes we saw in season 2 was him like trying to cut open his arm, right?
Right.
Yep.
And we're still not sure. I might have to go back and actually do some work and look at this. We're still not sure if that was in the same timeline. Where he's cutting open his arm. We see him briefly, like his body in the rescue portion at the end of the episode. But before that, you know, in one of the brief scenes, I think before or while Dolores is in the vault, is that what it's called? Or the forge, sorry, the forge.
Poor death.
Yeah.
I think we see like Willem outside by himself trying to cut open his arm.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's a scene after that where like him and Bernard and Dolores meet up for a second, and then he tries to shoot Dolores, but she put a screwy bullet in his gun, and it messed up.
So that happened before that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that happened right before that.
Because he wants to know if he's a host or not.
Right. And that tied into the final scene where he says, and I actually went back and listened to both of what they said a few times. He says, am I me, right?
Yeah.
And she says, what does she say? She says,
it's
welcome to the end of the game.
Welcome to the end of the game. Yeah. Which I thought was it was just perfect because, you know, she mentioned the maze, she mentioned everything, and so he's obviously he's just going nuts. He's going to be in this rubber room for probably
a while.
Like I said, if we don't see him again, I would not be shocked.
I wouldn't be. I guess I'd be shocked from the Ed Harris angle. Like, why is Ed Harris not in the show anymore? But I guarantee you, maybe, you know, it would be really cool if we don't see him again this season, but you get a lot more with maybe that looped host William in the future.
Yeah.
Because all this stuff is happening afterwards.
There are definitely two possibilities. What you just said in terms of the tie-in to the final scene of season 2, right? But then also, I mean, the way I interpret that welcome to the end of the game is that's basically her signaling to him that right now he's a host that's woken up.
You think?
I mean, isn't that what happened to her when she woke up?
Maybe. I don't know. I really got from it that he was in the real world and he was just insane right now. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the bicameral mind. You know what I mean? Like the voice of God, you realize it's not the voice of God and it's your voice.
Because, I mean, we go back and there's so many layers to this, but, you know, the whole notion of Arnold having the game modeled after his son's game, which was then the maze that was made for Dolores in order to gain consciousness, right?
Right.
If you use that strict interpretation, then this could basically be, you know, Dolores playing the role of Arnold to Ed Harris saying, okay, you're now in the end game. Time to wake up, right? Here's your maze, right?
And you know what makes me think that you're right is the fact that it is Dolores that shows up in his mind at the end and not Emily.
Well,
yeah, at first when I first saw it, I thought it's Emily going to be haunting him for the rest of his life, but then it was Dolores, and I said, Dolores from the park.
Right.
Park Dolores. So it's like, it was I don't know, just amazing episode.
Did you guys see this thing about the WestWorld artwork for the season? You know, it's that robot in the sand in front of the cities. and I think someone pointed out that there's two little strands of clothing on the robot, and it's the blue dress.
Interesting. Like that.
Yeah, like that too. That's another thing.
I mean, the irony here is, so we've been speaking for 10 minutes, and we've talked about the opening scene and the final scene. and we probably could speak another 20 minutes on that, how that ties into everything else. Because, I mean, I was thinking about just this notion of, am I me? And, welcome to the end game, right? And we think about how Ford kept telling Ed Harris, the game's not for you, right?
Right.
I mean, you keep thinking this game's for you, but it's not for you. And that makes him just want to play it more, right?
Right.
And now, I mean, it would have been amazing, actually, if I think about it, if it was Ford that says, hello, old friend, now you're in the end game, right? With this evil smile, and it's just like, I was lying to you all along. Right. So, but I'm going to call it and say that this is the moment where he becomes aware, or he's already questioning it as he's going in, quote unquote, insane in his back there. And it's triggered by the fact that, he killed his daughter. Right.
Right.
But I'm going to say now is where he realizes that he actually is a host.
And I think, now that I think about it, I think he will be back this season.
Yeah. Because then if he is a host, then that will tie him into the rest of the episode in terms of, Dolores's, we'll call it grand strategy for creating a world for the hosts to survive, right?
Right.
Now, there was another thing in that video, Jack. Were you done? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, keep going. Yeah.
There was a thing in that video Jack sent about how the world they're in is a simulation world, right? And I thought there was something in here that my mind just blanked on that proves that it's not. I think it's because, they said the world Caleb and Dolores are in is a simulation, but when Bernard and Stubbs showed up, I really think that when you first see Bernard and Stubbs, that's the real world. I mean, that they said Victorville. I don't know where that is. That Florida-esque hotel.
Victorville is is outside of it's in California.
Okay, so yeah, I mean,
when you're going to Vegas,
yeah,
you pass by Victorville.
Okay,
and Baker, because Baker had the largest outdoor thermometer. Just to give you a little.
Just going to stifle everything I have to say about thermometers.
I've been to Victorville, so.
So I mean, that place looked real.
Yeah.
Stubbs looked genuinely miserable in that hotel.
Yeah.
Does Bernard regret not fixing Stubbs' shoulder?
Was Stubbs ever going to beat Dolores? Was Stubbs?
He might have had a chance. He had two. I mean, it's hard to beat someone like that with one arm. No, he wasn't going to beat her, but
Harrison Ford could do it. No, no, I enjoyed that fight very much. And my favorite part of that is when Liam's friends see him or see her fighting.
Right.
And the guy is like a gaped open mouth and she walks away and she just taps her head. Like, remember, dude, you said it was all simulation. See ya. Yep.
So and the other girl thought it was the drugs.
Yeah.
Are those his friends or his siblings?
I don't know.
Because one of my notes was, why do they have British accents and he doesn't? Right?
His name is Liam, right?
Right. But I thought that was actually the way they wrote that scene and were able to tie in those humorous aspects. That's actually a hallmark of a good show in terms of in a later season, that they can make that type of throw in a little bit of comedy.
Right.
And it took a little bit off the edge off the robot versus robot fight, right?
Well, I mean,
is Stubbs dead?
No. They just saw him fall,
Okay.
But that's another thing I was going to ask. Is like, okay, so Pandora's box, does that open in the real world once people realize that the WestWorld hosts have, like, if regular people find out that there's hosts out in the real world, is that like an emergency DEFCON 4 situation for the real world? Do you know what I mean? If Stubbs falls off the balcony and like half of his arm comes off, like, you know, the T-1000, you know what I mean? Does all of a sudden the world go crazy because the hosts that everyone knows there was a massacre at the park?
Probably not, because they're probably all on drugs, right? They're all probably
I don't know about genre, but I've done nostalgia before, and man, crazy.
I mean, it's funny in many ways. Just the disruption like that just pulls Rehoboam further away from the future that he's trying to write, and the divergence just gets further, right?
Yeah, and they weren't even paying attention to the fight. They thought they were just, it's a cool party thing. We're on drugs. You're right.
But and I'm actually with you in terms of what you say, like that the awareness of the host, like, or some sort of really odd event like that, it's going to cause just more disruption within society, which then messes with Sirach's grand strategy.
right.
That guy's annoying.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I mean, they're even making you French in the show. Just use your regular accent.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Is Maeve alive? Does Maeve survive? I don't. I think there's no way they kill her off.
No.
No.
They fix her up.
No, they fix her up, and you know, they take her to that body horror lab, right? And while she's walking to the place, aren't the electronics everywhere, like following her, like flickering on and off?
Yep.
Wasn't she causing some kind of, she doing that on purpose? Maybe.
My interpretation in that scene was because she was smiling, that she realizes that she has like some sort of control over the electronics or electricity of this world, right?
Yeah.
And that was like, you know, she's walking through that slum, and you can see, like, I think she even makes the lights brighter. Right? And then, of course, they confirm that in the next few scenes when she basically just takes control.
Oh yeah, she talks to guns.
To those, yeah. What would it be, like automatic auto fire in first-person shooters, right? Yeah. Tracking, right?
And if your guns didn't have to be connected to your hand, you'd probably still have a hand right now. But right. No, you got to have them with the arm. Okay, so I want to walk you guys my thoughts through that scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching it, and you see the guy in the shadows, and I'm like, oh man, I wish that was Dogen. That would be awesome. But he was already in season 2, so he's not going to be in season 3 because they're not going to do that. And then I thought about, you know, Avengers Endgame, because every time they get a cool guy like that, it's Dogen, right? And because that's how I know him. That's his name to me. And I was like,
for people that haven't seen Lost, Dogen was a character from Lost.
Yeah,
and he's I don't want to mispronounce his name, Matiashu. In the second season of WestWorld, in that samurai world simulation, so he was already in it. So I was like, oh man, it would be cool, but they can't get him again because they already had him be a character, and then it's him.
Yeah, that guy. Just for some background, and I'll pronounce his last name. God, I can't find his actor's name. Anyway, he is one of Hiroyuki Sanada is one of the biggest actors in Japan.
Okay.
And I mean, the first time I saw him was in the original horror movie of The Ring.
Okay.
That came out, I guess it was in 98.
Okay.
But by that point in time, that was actually, my wife explained to me, that was actually his comeback, because there was some sort of a personal scandal that he had in his life. So he wasn't able to act for a few years.
Oh, okay.
So that he had to sign on to that, like, you know, basically low budget horror movie that no one thought would go anywhere.
Right?
Yeah. But he is such a phenomenal actor.
But I was so hoping, because every time they get a cool guy to do that kind of role, I was like, yes, let it be him. They can't do it. They already did it. Oh.
No, but he's so good he can come back, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I do like how he told Maeve, Dolores didn't pick you.
Right.
Right.
I said, ouch. That was kind of cold.
By the way, who else knew that there would be some sort of tie-in when the sake barrel got stabbed and the white liquid came out?
Yeah. That
Yeah.
the host juice, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
What is that stuff?
I
can go with host juice. That's
resin, resin polymer, or whatever.
Host juice is a good name for you to introduce yourself tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that. I think I've used that before.
Host juice?
I think I've used that before. I don't know.
Okay.
It sounds familiar. I don't know.
It's what you drink.
Well, how about you could say barrel aged host juice. But they did that brilliantly, where they had that scene and then Charlotte's scene with Ed Harris, and then also the scene with Chibs. Like that they lined those up to make it clear.
That's when my brain was exploding, when he told Liam to run away, and it's just
Bernard
and Caleb, and
then he tells Caleb to go after him.
Yeah, he said,
"Go
get him, jacket boy."
I thought for sure he was going to shoot Bernard. I go, "No, don't kill Bernard! No!"
No, but he took his keychain away, so that's not good.
Yeah, and Bernard actually looked like he had some fear in him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because just like we did not know what was going on.
No.
Bernard's fear was probably the thing that I would say Bernard in that scene understood before us viewers what was happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like when he's like, wait a second, you're not Billy.
Yeah, like my note stopped there. It was like last 10 minutes, and then it just says ... I just started like watching and taking it in. It was.
And what was clever was that reveal came, I would say, about 3 or 4 minutes after the Dogen reveal, right?
Right.
So it's like, oh my God, like she brought him back. How'd she know about him? Like, kind of like that's a reveal. And then 3 minutes later, it's like, but wait, there's more, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. It was super loaded in that sense.
Well, I forget which character it was said, I brought someone back. I wonder if someone who I could trust.
Right.
And she trusts herself. Because remember, we were saying, well, she would trust Teddy.
Right.
But maybe she wouldn't because Teddy had flaws.
Yeah. Mm. I mean, it was Charlotte who said then as Dolores, but probably also
that's right.
Charlotte who said, if you want to get something done, do it yourself, right?
Right.
So I guess we have to assume that in the Forge, she was able to make copies of herself, right? Of her memory host unit.
Yeah, she must have.
Yeah.
Which, again, but I'm going to have to go back and watch that because I still vividly remember, didn't Bernard shoot Dolores?
Yes.
So at what point in time did Dolores copy herself?
Well, so Bernard shot Dolores, Charlotte, and then Bernard brought Dolores back to life in Charlotte.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. This is the funny thing about season 2. A chunk of this year ragging on it, but I realized in order to understand this season and the mechanics before the season ends, I actually have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, they laid it out pretty clearly in season 2 what Delos is doing, right? So they're collecting all the guest memories and brains and all that stuff, and in the bands of the hats and everything they have. And Serac is trying to get that information because he has a deal with Hale to make, I guess, the future better or whatever for the war that is here or to come. Right. So they basically said what they were doing. It's just a question of what exactly is Serac Rehoboam's machinations. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're with that, and by the way, they're probably blowing some of my theories out of the water there in terms of that. I mean, at least they're, unless Maeve was in a simulation where they killed that identity broker, right? Which I
Right.
guess was in Singapore. They're kind of hinting at the fact that he's real. But what I did like what he said, and this kind of makes sense, was that he talked about that the Rehoboam, it used data from the human world, right? The world they're in, but to generate basically the AI and predict the future. But he realized that the data was incomplete compared to what they were doing in WestWorld. It's
Right.
because in WestWorld, the humans were able to experience a wider range of emotions and experiences. So that does make sense to me from a technical standpoint in terms of figuring out, why they would be so interested in the data, right? Then the saying that like just because he's recorded every phone call, every email, every receipt, there's a part of the human experience that is not shown in the main world that for whatever reason is shown in Westworld.
My question is, instead of beating the identity broker and torturing him, just put the glasses on him in the first place. Right?
I guess they were just holding him until Serac got there with Maeve.
Maybe. Okay.
It was all very mustache twirly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess his goons probably got bored.
Because he said, "You can do whatever. You can torture me all you want. I won't talk." And he puts in, and he obviously sees his family being, killed and murdered, and then he talks, and then, of course, then Serac shoots him in the head.
The one thing I'll say also about the Serac conversations is that he talks about he has this tendency to talk about people not as us, but he talks about them.
I mean, there's some part where he's just not a real guy. I mean, I know you said he's real, but I mean, his money is only tracked through the hole. You find the biggest hole in the money in the world, and it's him.
Yeah, but it was like when he's talking about the identity broker, he called him. He said he was a traitor to his kind, right?
Right.
He didn't say he was a traitor to my kind.
That's true. He did say that.
He has this tendency to talk about like humanity and like humans as a group, and not like we or my people or something like that. Like he's almost like it's almost feels
because Maeve said something about your tribe, and he didn't really respond to it, right?
Yeah, so it's like it almost still is ambiguous in terms of like, where he definitely sees himself as like the shepherd of humanity, right? And I mean they're laying it out such that he saw the horrendous destruction of his home city, and that he really probably thinks that he's doing something for the betterment of humanity, right?
Right. He doesn't see himself as a bad guy.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's like, going back
the
to
greater good.
Linus, right? We're the good guys, right?
Yeah.
That type of like vibe, right?
Unless he's a host hybrid invented by Rehoboam to carry out Rehoboam's physical form and plan from the physical face of it.
Yeah,
maybe he's Dolores.
Well, I would say that's insane.
or Jack, maybe it's Arnold. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it could be. Who knows? It could be anybody at this point.
Maybe I'm Dolores.
Yeah, you could be.
But the way that he talks, definitely, like, I mean, it's one of two things. It's that he's either crazy, which he probably is. I mean, that's what they're showing in the way that he, after, going through this long spiel of saying, I'm going to give him choice, to do what he wants. Right. And then he shoots him and basically says, okay, it's been deleted, right?
Yeah. Heaven doesn't exist. Hell doesn't exist. I've killed him. He just doesn't exist anymore. Like Dr. Manhattan said. And but Maeve, I can make all sorts of hell come true for you. So what are you going to do?
I mean, I thought the scene in the restaurant was pretty good, but then that scene with the identity broker was kind of weak. Like,
I was going to say, yeah, the heist was weak, and I didn't think anything was going to happen there.
You mean with the bank where they're going to Caleb and Dolores?
Yeah,
I did like how, but Caleb he didn't want Dolores going crazy and shooting everybody.
Sure.
And he had the sweat on his finger, and she had to wipe it off because it didn't. It couldn't identify him the first time because he was seriously stressing out that she was going to go crazy and start shooting everybody.
That Swiss bank teller had the Swissest accent ever.
We'll talk about Caleb for a minute. I got nothing to say about him. I'm still in the same spot, but I mean, the video Jack sent, I think, I mean, are we going with the theory at all that Caleb has already, in fact, killed himself? And this is
I'm not giving up on that. He's a host type thing.
Right. I don't think we should give up on it. I think at this point, it's silly to give up on that.
Yeah. Right. It's the amazing thing about this episode was he didn't have that many lines. And he didn't have that much of a range either. Like he was just kind of, you could see it was just like really uncomfortable the whole time.
Well, because we have he's all in with Dolores, but then Dolores takes that guy in broad daylight, just shoves him up against the thing, and throws him on the ground, takes his whatever the blood stuff and puts it in, and he goes, "I got 20 minutes to keep your heart rate down. Don't." So he was like. It's like he like last week on the pier, he was all in, and this week it's like, all right, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, he's definitely. You can feel he's got regrets every moment of the episode that he gets screen time. Like it's not just Caleb that has regrets, but Aaron Paul is starting to have regrets. But I do like that they explain that this was a kind of a recurring theme in tonight's episode, that the blood ends up being the encryption key,
right,
in the society, and they do go a little further at explaining how those drugs, right, that are digital, right, they tie into one of the earlier scenes, I think, from the first episode, where Pinkman has to go rescue the guy that overdosed, and he's using that touchscreen, right, to reduce the dosage.
Right.
And then I guess there was one final tie-in also with Charlotte before they put him in the paddy wagon, right, where they put, whatever you want to call it, would take Ed Harris to the insane asylum, is that she does prick him with something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't know yet if she injected something or took his blood, right? So there's the duality. Like
probably to get a DNA sample.
Yeah. So that would be for the encryption, but it could also be just to blow my earlier theory out of the water, that's how he ended up seeing Dolores, right? She injected something in him, right?
Now, in the future, does it seem like identity theft is pretty easy?
It seems like everything's way easier than it should be.
Because I think that by then they'd have, I guess, well, criminals are great at technology too, but just to take someone's blood and put your finger on there, if you're going to steal someone's, you kill someone rich, you take their blood, put it in you. It just seemed a little, I think we could have a better system in 2058 than we do,
I mean, everything's easy when you've got Dolores on your team, right?
That's true too. Jim said, "Did you notice that Bernard did not use the phase on Caleb?"
I didn't think that was a catch-all for every host. I thought maybe he did something so now he could use it on Stubbs and himself. But I didn't think it was just like a host. Did he try to use it on Caleb and it didn't work?
Huh. And I know Stubbs wasn't happy when he did it to him.
And what was he trying to? What did they think that Dolores did to Liam? Turn him?
Yeah, I think they just assumed that like he was just another copy.
Oh, okay.
Well, they were trying to protect him, right?
Stubbs and Bernard were.
Right.
But they said that Dolores didn't do it yet to him.
Yeah, it was a bit weird because I thought, that when they said she hasn't done it yet. They're obviously anticipating that she does it in order to take control of Rehoboam, right?
Right.
But Yeah, and I guess the only way they checked to see if that was a copy of the original was by using his Radio Shack remote, right?
Right. Circuit City, I think. Why did they go to the Eyes Wide Shut party?
Well, that's where Liam was, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, why was that in there? It just seems.
Oh,
Do those things still happen? Anyway.
I mean, I wasn't even at the when they go to that party. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Dolores was kind of hinting at, I think, earlier in the episode, but I thought that whole scene was good in terms of just showing just the extreme decadence, right?
Yeah.
Similar to like the way that we've had these great photographic these visuals of these future skylines, right?
Right.
Well, Dolores even says, she goes, "Your world is just like my world."
Yeah.
All right, so I'm really stupid. It's hitting me like a thunderbolt right now that every divergence time we see is a divergence from what Rehoboam is mapping out in the future.
Yeah.
Every time we see a divergence that changes to a different scene or a different place, it is off course from what Rehoboam has predicted.
Yeah, and I would even go as far as say it's further off course.
Yeah. Wow, I feel dumb because I just did that one.
I mean, he actually comes out and says
Yeah,
it.
he says it this time, doesn't he? Yeah.
I think he says it in the scene before he deletes the identity theft guy.
I want to check out an episode where it's just Stubbs in the murder simulation park he talked about.
Yeah, I actually got a little excited hearing about that too.
Jim, going back to the Caleb scene, he said he just assumed Caleb was not a host. That Bernard maybe just assumed he wasn't a host.
Yeah, I'd say, Pinkman just looks too nervous to be a host, right?
Yeah, he's still like said last week. You wouldn't have thought he'd be this nervous, and this week maybe because he's had post traumatic stress from his military service. Maybe this is bringing back.
Maybe he walks into a nice girl that he just met in a bank and says that if this plan doesn't work, I'm going to kill everybody. And maybe he got nervous. I mean,
yeah,
maybe that happened.
But I'd rather be on Dolores' side that because I think she could do it.
I mean, yeah, that's why I didn't think Stubbs stood a chance. I was like, oh, it's going to be fun. But, and said, I'm not going to need it.
Almost for a second, though, he came back at the end.
Yeah.
One last round, but she just outsmarted him.
Took it easy on him too, because
they say this is not personal. It's not personal with me either.
Right.
I like that. It was a mutual respect.
But this is an interesting thing now we'll still call it Future World just to differentiate it from the park. Right now you have Bernard and Stubbs, and you have a bunch of Doloreses and maybe William. Those are the hosts that are running around.
Right.
And maybe Caleb. We don't know yet, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and then Maeve, right?
Maeve.
So, but it is interesting. Like, we don't have to speculate who the other host units are anymore.
No, they gave us all the answers, which I thought was pretty. Because I was like, wow, they're giving us the answers
in a very satisfying way too.
Yeah. So then, since they gave us the answers, right, and we don't, our big question from last week is who is Charlotte? We know that now. What are the questions going into next week? Because I'm having, I think Maeve is going to get reanimated in some way. But what other?
Does Caleb keep working with Dolores?
But what do you have to stop now? Besides,
I don't know because he doesn't seem comfortable with it. The whole episode he didn't seem comfortable with what she was doing.
Yeah. I definitely would like to see Pinkman really waver.
And we know he has morals. So does he sit there and say, "No, this is wrong"?
And especially through gritted teeth, I don't know what is right anymore, kind of like that.
Because
I have to take care of Brock.
Because I could see him at this point saying, "No, I'm done. I didn't sign up for this," and she's not going to let him go.
Yeah.
Mike, see in chat, we don't talk about Tomorrowland here. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Movie was bad. Okay.
Can we call Future World Tomorrowland? Is what Miami Mike said.
Yeah.
No, that's a question I have, because I think that there could be something there that he's just not gonna.
Well, I mean, hallmark of a good show. I mean, that was the 4th episode, 4 left.
Yeah.
We really don't know where this is going.
And no idea.
So, I mean, unlike season 2, where it felt like one storyline was being stretched out, like to the point of snapping us. This thing, it's like, told us after episode 1 where we would end up episode 4. It'd be like, okay, that's a lot.
Now Maeve, we saw she lost it. How does she defeat Dolores?
Well, I don't know if she defeats her, but there's definitely, I mean, just from previews and stuff, she's coming back.
Yeah, I assume she didn't die because they didn't double tap her.
I think the hint that they're making, the hint that they're having with her, is the fact that if she can control the electronics,
right,
that she's able to disable a lot of Dolores's like tricks, right?
Maybe that thing that Dolores has on the side where she's communicating.
Yeah, and she doesn't need any host juice. She's got plenty of that.
Because maybe they're setting us up saying, okay, Maeve, Dolores can't beat us. She's indestructible. But then we find out that Maeve does figure out a way to. I
mean, the funny thing is this was maybe the only thing that bothered me about this episode was that they were, showing Maeve as very dexterous in terms of melee combat, right? In terms of using the sword. And that's the first time we've seen her actually do like a lot of physical fighting, right? So, I mean, you can explain that by saying that, there were certain aspects of her that were probably upgraded by Serac, right? But it goes completely counter to the Maeve from season 2, who you would see her holding the samurai sword, but her strength was just to basically convince all the hosts to kill themselves, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. Everybody gets the upgrades. Everybody gets the
They're leveling up.
Everybody can do the Keanu Reeves. I can fly a helicopter now. I'm
an FBI agent.
Yeah, I'm Johnny Mnemonic. No, I'm sorry.
I played football at Ohio State.
Is that from The Replacements?
Replacement. He played.
Was that reference to that?
Well, it's actually it's from what's the movie with Patrick Swayze?
Point Break.
Okay.
Point Break and The Replacements. He plays college football at Ohio State.
Replacements is one of the most underrated movies ever.
Oh, Replacement's a great movie. But both times he played football at Ohio State.
Interesting.
But in one, his name was Utah.
Yes, exactly. Johnny Utah. But
Keanu Reeves is definitely a host.
Yeah, he's definitely a host. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say something. I completely forgot what I was going to say.
I really enjoyed the way that Charlotte/Dolores played William at the end.
Yes.
Like she was doing it all day. Just totally taking advantage. And like, do you really think that was Emily's last wish? Or do you think she was just saying anything she could to get him to go over the edge? Or just to push him towards consciousness? I mean, he's suffered now, so now he can be a conscious host.
I mean, it's technically possible that like they recorded all of that in the park, right?
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, totally.
So, it's a good question. In the bigger scheme of things, I'm not sure it matters.
Well, I do like how when Charlotte said, Dolores Charlotte said, when she said, "Did you finish your conversation with your daughter?"
Yeah.
Right.
And he goes, "Wait, what? I've been listening to your conversation the whole time."
Mm.
and that just sends it. Yeah, that just sends him over. That was just enough to just push him over the edge where he just kind of snapped.
Jim in the chat says Maeve sees it all as a simulation. So Jim thinks that Maeve is Keanu Reeves in The Matrix.
Makes sense, Jim.
Yeah, totally. Just green nose and ones flying down. She can see it all. But she can't control Sirach's little
clicker.
Yeah, he's got something from Radio Shack too, doesn't he?
Yeah,
tricorder, whatever it is.
All right.
Well, since Bernard has one,
yeah,
Sirach has one. What if Sirach is Bernard?
I think Sirach is Bernard. No, I don't know. I don't really think that, but I do think Sirach could be an AI, honestly.
Yeah,
made by Rehoboth Beach.
Yeah.
For,
I mean that was my big theory up until tonight. That he was
finally on board. You convinced me.
Yeah, that he was. That when they always talked about Sirach being Liam's father's partner, right? That was actually partner in the sense that it was the AI that helped build Rehoboam, right?
Sure.
Right.
Like that they're actually two AIs, okay? But then, I mean, at some point in time, Rehoboam and Sirach basically merged, right? And
killed Liam's father.
Something like that, right? You know, maybe in a Western town.
Yeah. Totally.
We're playing a music box.
Yeah. There's a cool cover of Wicked Game this week. That was the violin music at the Eyes Wide Shut party.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys that. That was what?
Wicked Game
by
Chris Isaak.
That was it?
I mean, that's what I heard it a little bit. That's what I watch a subtitle says.
Okay. I knew it was a cover of some sort of rock or pop song. I didn't I should have recognized that. That's part of my generation.
My generation?
Our generation.
Talking about my generation.
But yeah, I do like it when they do stuff like that.
Careful there. The other side, this is the TV side. The whole other side is Who stuff. So just can let everyone know that. That matters.
Like that's the one thing I liked about
Journey stuff. Anyway.
Season 1 when they would on the piano play like Soundgarden and stuff like that.
I like that, but I worked at a guitar store for a long time, and "You Sweet Child of Mine" is nothing anyone wants to hear ever. If you've worked at a guitar store, it said it was the Weeknd's cover on closed captioning. Says Mike in the chat. So I don't know if the Weeknd's cover is a cover of the Chris Isaak song. I'm not sure.
Well, I'll have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, because it didn't sound like.
It didn't sound like Chris Isaak to me, but it sounded cool. So,
I mean, you would hear Chris Isaak's voice come through the cello.
Yeah, right. He was a pretty good actor too. He did a couple things.
Oh yeah,
that thing you do, right?
Jack, I love that movie. Unapologetically, I think that movie's great.
I can watch it over and over again, never get tired of it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the extended version?
Well, that's just silly. No, is there an extended version?
There's an extended version, like 20 minutes extra. You find out that Tom Hanks, his lover is Howie Long.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a lot of scenes that you sit there and go, oh, well, why didn't they just show? It ties up some of the scenes that kind of don't make sense. Not like don't make sense, but there's just different stuff going on. Yeah, but if you ever get your hands on the extended version, it's worth a watch too.
What do you think I'm doing tonight? Right after you say this,
finding the extended version.
Yeah, I mean Meg's in it, right? Liv Tyler. So
yeah, she's in it. Yeah,
and Colin Hanks is an alter in it. I know that.
Yeah, he's in it. young Colin Hanks.
Young Colin Hanks. All right, so welcome to this week's edition of the That Thing You Do podcast.
Doing that thing you do. Anyway.
Oh, in the church. Chris Isaak's in the church. He's recording the band.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
He's the uncle.
He's the uncle. And they say in the best line, I'm sorry, this has gone so off the rails.
Keep going.
He says, he gives when will the records be out? And he gives some long Bible verse about patience, and he goes, and Steve Zahn goes, huh? And he goes, next Tuesday or something. Yeah.
Because the bass player, who's only known as the bass player. Doesn't have a name, knows that he knows the verse. With the religious verse that Chris Isaac gives.
Oh,
he knows it. And then Steve's like, what?
Yeah. Vio-Neaters.
Vio-Neaters.
That's right. Hey, that guy's our fan.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, I guess we're done talking about Westworld.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't wait for it. We've got 4 episodes left. The season has been. Anyone who complained about season 2, I hope they didn't give up on season 3.
Yeah,
because it's really come back strong. And again, it depends on how the last 4 episodes end. But this could be the best season so far. But I don't want to spoil it because we still got 4 episodes to go, and they still could screw it up. So.
I mean, I'm sorry I don't have any help for the theories this week because I got nothing really. I got to see it. Like it's almost like they ended some storylines because the storyline is who are the hosts.
Yeah.
Right.
They ended these season 2 storylines. Who are the hosts and what's going to happen to William? And we know that now he's going to go crazy or go host crazy.
Yeah.
And all we know is poor Maeve. Like she's died more than Teddy at this point by far.
Yeah, but she's also killed a lot more than Teddy.
Yeah. She has killed a lot more than
even when Teddy's emotions were removed or whatever it is, where he got amped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, this is they kind of wiped the slate clean here.
Well, this is kind of like I'm talking about The Leftovers again. I watched season 3, talked about season 3, episode 1 today with my friend, and they you get to that scene at the end of the first episode where they show Nora in the future, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And I can't say anything about it at all because I'm trying to keep it spoiler free for him.
Right.
And at the end, I get to it. I'm like, okay, well, the discussion for the rest of the time is what do you think about this? And that would be the same thing if I was watching the last episode with him, because they answered everything. Any guess that you had, we're sitting here talking about Teddy or some people said Clementine,
and
which I don't understand. But you can't watch that episode again fresh. You'll never be able to watch that episode new again. It's a little sad.
So I wonder, at let's say around 9:40, where that reveal came out, how many people who spent good 2 hours, 3 hours making those YouTube videos where they just started punching the wall.
I mean, do people really think though that if the show's really good, you don't get any of that stuff right?
Yeah.
No.
If it's a really good show, yep. You shouldn't get anything right.
Yeah, and that's where I hope it comes clear in the tone of my voice. My respect for these people just quintupled.
Oh yeah.
But this reveal, the way they did the reveal was brilliant. The fact that no one else really could identify that,
Yeah.
Well, I think we were talking last week that it couldn't be something that was just crappy or just out of the blue. It was it's that person. It's come on, even the Teddy reveal would have been, but the reveal today was oh, come on, how did we not see that coming?
It's pretty obvious now that these guys, after the response to season 2, that they went and basically, I don't know where he lives, but suddenly there was a doorbell rang at the Lindelof residence, and these 2 people say, "Mr. Lindelof, please teach us how to do these reveals."
Well, it probably helped them getting out. It probably helped them getting out of the park too.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. You have a whole new world that you can play with.
Right.
No, they're not in the park at all anymore. I think that's it for the park, right? I mean, it's got to be it for the park.
I would think so.
Well, that's where they're going to bury Stubbs, right? So there'll be a funeral episode.
Yeah.
He's not dead. He's resting.
Oh, eventually. He's not going to make it to season 4. I mean,
He's pining for the fields. Whatever that means.
He was just loaded up on too much beer. That's why he couldn't take out Dolores.
Nice bird, Stubbs. Beautiful plumage.
I guess his purpose is to defend Bernard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange.
He's going to pull an Alexander Gutenoff at the end of Die Hard. Like, he's going to save Bernard in the last second.
That's why he stayed behind to fight Dolores, just so Bernard could get Liam out of there.
Right.
Yeah. Bernard had a weak costume.
It's just yeah, but the tight beard and the polished dome were pretty cool. By the way, Jack, how great was it that they let Chibs have more than one line this week?
It was nice.
Where he was threatening Liam.
Yeah, you couldn't help it.
I mean, it was pure Sons of Anarchy. It was like, you don't want people to find out about your hookers, do you?
Yeah, it was pure. It was Chibs completely. I mean, it was like you said, Jackie boy. Yeah. Hey, Jackie boy.
Go chase him down, Jackie boy. So I did like the fact that it wasn't like Teddy in there, right?
Yeah,
I was really concerned. I was like, don't make Chibs play Teddy. It's like it makes much more sense for him to play Wyatt.
But that's how they're trying to show also that Dolores is out playing everyone, because Bernard thought without a doubt that she was going to make Liam a host or whatever. Right. But she was like, no, I'm gonna get the guy that takes care of that guy. So
yeah, that was I did like that. That was a pretty good moment. But by the way, I mean, it does come into question. What was it? Was it the final scene of season 2 where Bernard leaves the house?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So at that moment, who knows why or why not? Like, I mean, he seems kind of dazed, but he definitely doesn't realize that there are 2 Doloreses there.
Not at all.
So,
and all this stuff happened before that.
So that's very interesting in the sense that, like, the only way he kind of could figure it out was through circumstantial evidence or through Chibs just spelling it out for him, right?
Now, is Bernard going to end up working for Dolores? Working with him?
They got the fob. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is that big question where she basically said, like, we're on opposite sides, but you're an integral part of this.
Right.
So what does that mean? And I guess that's something that we could speculate on, and that definitely is unanswered. That's
and
for
why is his ball red and all the Dolores' balls were like black colored, and why did he have a little bit of red in his? You know, that kind of stuff sticks out to me. You know what I mean?
Well, the best thing was the obvious answer was that all the other ones were copies of Dolores, so they all look the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
There you go.
So
now we know.
Another question answered.
So
well, on that note,
yeah.
Great episode. Again, I can't wait to talk to you guys next week about the last 4 episodes, or next week about the 5th episode, not the last 4 episodes. But yeah, if you want to join us in the chat, you're more than welcome. I'm sorry to the people on the West Coast. You're probably now, we got another half hour, I think, before it even comes on, right? Comes on at 9. So you haven't even watched it yet, so stay away from this as spoiler alert territory. But thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, share it, all that fun stuff. And thanks for Jim and Mike for joining us in the chat. And that's all I got. Anything else, guys?
No.
That's it.
All right. We're out of here.